thing that the TWU, Transit Workers Union, Transportation Workers Union, Local 100, has been concentrating on as of late in response to all the issues that we've all seen. The debacle, the absolute fucking failure of leadership and representation, especially when it comes to what they're very good at with the MTA and Amtrak, is putting the safety of the public first. So with everything that everyone's seen, that I've shown you in the last 2.5 years, whatever it is, where I've been in the park documenting those horses, how the people act, how they care for the horses, how they obey the rules, how they treat the city of New York, how they conduct themselves in Central Park and on the streets of New York, the way they treat the public, the way they treat the tourists, the way they treat women, especially. Something I've always talked about. They say they're hardworking immigrants that came here. Most of them have no respect for women. And I can say that because they've proven that by their actions. But right now, what is their response to everything that's been happening? Like I said, lame horses. Horses that are dying from what we would call abuse and neglect, because they're things that are preventable. 2 loose horses last year. One injured, broke the wrist of one of the drivers, who was not a member of the TWU because he wasn't an owner. Something they don't talk about. He had to pay out of pocket for his medical bills because he didn't have insurance. No benefits. Yet they say that they're supporting the hardworking people of the carriage horse industry. Only certain individuals of the carriage horse industry. The money in the carriage horse. The owners of the buildings of the carriage horse industry. The owners of the medallions in the carriage horse industry. The owners of the horses in the carriage horse industry. We all see how much they care about the horses. They say that if in 3 years those horses are phased out, I think it was Chiarella, whatever that guy is, guy that's second command in TWU, said, where are these poor horses going to go? These people, these activists that only care about themselves and money and real estate, don't care that these horses are going to go to slaughter. Really? Okay, thank you for once again confirming what I've been saying, that none of these horses right now at all have any aftercare plan by any of the owners. Proof again, Bernard last year, we know this story, one of our group members in Harness Racing Revolution saw that horse who was pulled by Copper Horse Crusade and Penny what's her name? I think it was I got it from the name. Copper Horse Crusade. Julie Copper? I believe it's Julie Copper. But anyway, identified that horse by that hoof ID, gets the message to me. I said, absolutely, that's a New York City carriage horse. Turns out only a few weeks before that, he broke down in New York City, was stabled at Clinton Park Stable on 52nd Street with, guess who? Christina Hansen. Her response was, like everything else, it's always an excuse. That horse was accidentally sent to a kill pen. Have you ever heard that before? Accidentally sent to a kill pen. Blame somebody else. So now we're seeing the report's front page, and they're a powerful union, so they're going to get the front page, but they're not going to get the public sentiment. Public sentiment, absolutely, 90%. They're all over the park. There's hundreds of people on social media posting thousands of videos, getting millions of views and hundreds of thousands of likes. This is why they do not want this going to a public forum or a public hearing. Then the public gets to speak. They think that they put out one bullshit poll that they invaded, put out an alert to their 44,000 members to vote. They only got 4,000 votes anyway. And they say, there's proof. Okay, well, if that's proof, then you have no problem putting it to a public vote, right? What are you worried about then? How come you don't want to go into a public hearing, the city council? That's the case. It should be a clean, open and shut case, right? Done. No, you don't want reality, like everything. So what are they doing? They're attacking Betsy Smith of the Conservancy in Central Park, who just a few weeks ago called this and said they've been watching, and what put them over the edge was the 4 loose horses in May and June, injuring the public. They're going to do nothing about it. They don't care. Conservancy says we have 42 people come through this park every year. They're damaging our infrastructure, and they are endangering the safety. So what is their only bastion of hope? This was repaid. And that's where I said to Edita, there's opportunity right there. What are they doing? They're going to besmirch an incredibly educated, successful woman, that $800 and some thousand, pushing $900,000 a year. They're saying she's overpaid to be a landscaper. My response was, let them keep talking. You think people are going to be motivated by that when they're seeing the videos of what's happening in the park with those carriage horses? Let them keep talking. In my opinion, as a person who loves that park, when I stay overnight on 63rd Street, I'll go out into that park at midnight. Got nothing to worry about. No, not any worse, if not safer than anywhere else in the city. There are people from the Conservancy out there through the night, making sure that the park is immaculate the next morning again, and it is. With the events that they put on, the amount of money they're able to bring in, the work that they do, I think she's underpaid. Now, as opposed to John Samuelson, who's absolutely ripping this one, a very strong, successful, and powerful woman, and who is paid and compensated properly for doing the work she does, who called this was going to happen again, and sure enough it did. His response is, she's overpaid to be a greenskeeper. Well, she was able to, and you don't have to be a genius to figure this out, because again, like I always compare it to in harness racing or horse racing, you look at a horse's past performances, if they're susceptible to making a break in the first turn, every start, chances are they're going to do it again. If they come in last quarter in 33 seconds every week, chances are they're going to do it again. If you got these drivers who disobey all the rules and regulations set forth that they say they're so heavily regulated by the city of New York, well, regulations are only good when people abide by them. They continuously break them. I have multiple videos, and so does everybody else who's ever been in the park, of them walking away from their horses, sitting on a bench, maybe even going to use the bathroom. Sorry, you chose what you want to do as a way to make a living. You can't go to the bathroom because you got to watch your horse. Hold it. But when you're in a public setting where you are giving, and I'm going to make sure that they understand this, the privilege. Some of those drivers are on social media saying their rights are being taken away. You have every right to pursue happiness, pursue a better life in the United States of America. But when when your job entails the necessity of obtaining a license to the city of New York, meeting minimum requirements, and when I say minimum requirements to take, they don't care for the animals anyway either. That's the other thing. The drivers, no. But to operate on the streets of New York and in that park and be responsible for the lives and the safety of the general public, adults, teenagers, toddlers, infants, in their carriages, one would think that they would have enough responsibility to not allow the simplest of things, which is not letting their horses get loose in the park, to the point where there were 2 people, I heard 3 at the beginning, yesterday, trapped in a carriage while the driver wasn't paying attention. He was not in the carriage at the lines. He was not at the horse's head. Allegedly, it was a loud noise from a garbage truck. Let me clarify that for them again. You are the outside entity. This is 2025 in the city of New York, on the island of Manhattan, some of the busiest streets on the planet. Nothing is going to change or be tailored for you. You're the obsolete and antiquated entity that is now infesting the city of New York with 68 medallions that are unnecessary, that most of you stand on hack lines for the most part. 17 at one point last week that I counted stood there doing nothing with no fares on Fifth Avenue because nobody wants to deal with you, or they're not going to support what you people do. What you do to the city, what you do to the horses, what you do to the public. It's over. That's why you're losing money and you're getting no fares. Christina Hansen went on record saying it's because of the tariffs. Well, you know what one of the hardest things to find in the park is? If you want to take a pedicab ride, you got to wait. And there is a shitload of them. Are there accidents? Yep, there's always going to be accidents. There's accidents in the city all day. Cars, trucks, buses, bikes, scooters, rollerblades, whatever. That's part of New York City. But when it's preventable, that you have an equine in the city of New York that doesn't belong there, that lives in a stable 46, 47 weeks a year, is on the street 9 hours a day in harness, and the rest of the day they're trapped in a 10 by 12 prison cell with no fucking windows, never see a blade of grass or a moment in a field so they can run around, be a horse and graze, that's called abuse. And then, when you're in the park, you feel as though you own the fucking place. But you don't. And Betsy Smith, who earns a very nice salary because she deserves it. That's why they call it earned. She has earned it. That's why you people are not finding any fares and you're losing money. You haven't earned it. You haven't even done the basics to try to help yourselves. So what did Christina Hansen blame it on yesterday? First it was a loud, excessively loud, louder than normal garbage truck. Well, that's part of the Conservancy's plan to keeping the park clean for its visitors. They empty out the garbage cans all the time. They have to even make sure that people pick up your manure that you leave on the bridle paths that's going to kill somebody when they go through it on a bicycle. That you say the diapers, well, we got the diapers. Well, they don't work all the time. And your guys don't know how to dress a horse either. So you wouldn't know how to adjust the equipment if your lives depended on it. I've seen the way you put on a harness. I've seen the way you fit a bridle. I've seen the way that you fit the diaper bags. And then you even go so far as to say that you people are allowed to use them to urinate in. You're fucking crazy. So she blames it on an excessively loud garbage truck. Well, it comes with the territory, and that's not going to change. Then when that didn't work, they said, well, the driver, she called it an aggressive garbage truck. What she was insinuating is the driver was being aggressive. I see those people in there. If anything, we see who blocks the path, and that's you people. I've seen you picking up fares right in front of me over by the Chess and Checkers Pavilion. Minutes of it where you blocked 2 lanes of the path that's only three paths wide, 3 lanes wide. Didn't care. You know who was in the center path, blocking the center path while the other one was parked? Christina Hansen, shop steward, TWU, Carriage Horse Unit, Carriage Horse Representation. One thing I do want to make clear is the TWU does an amazing job representing its real members, and that being transport workers. They really do. They put them number one. The safety of the public is also dead heated with number one. They get what those people earned and deserve. And you've even gotten to the point where you have some of these people who are members of the TWU, who are regular workers busting their asses at real jobs that matter, moving the city of New York. Not around a circle in Central Park and saying, oh, we provide a vital tourism, and it's been here for 400 years. Yesterday, she says there were 103 Frisians came off the first boats. It's not 1625 anymore, Christina. Get a real job. Because inevitably, what's it going to come to? Someone's got to get grossly hurt or worse. Then what's the city going to do? Are they going to wake up then? I said it a few weeks ago to Bob Holden. I said it to Eric Botcher. I said it to Curtis Lewa. I said it to Dita Bernkran. I said it to everybody I've met at the rallies. I've said it online and social media. Lynn Schulman, Speaker Adrian Adams, New York City Council, Mayor of New York, whoever that might be at the time, Eric Adams now, whoever it is in the next one, the city has been warned by the Central Park Conservancy, who does an amazing job of curating and protecting what is the gem of New York City. And it's true. I have been there countless times where people cross 59th Street for the first time or come through Columbus Circle and they see those gates and they look up and it's like they've reached the land of Oz. That people from other countries walk in that park, see those statues, the paths, the landmarks, that it's full of landmarks. Recognizable, whether it's in movies, history, you name it. Central Park, New York, it's real. The look in their eyes, just sheer amazement, people in tears that they've finally been able to visit the park. Some of them to see the carriage horses. But they're thinking of the carriage horses when the carriage horses made a difference, they were necessary, and they were cared for. Now you have a shadow of its former self, 68 medallions. And however many people, they said it's in excess of 200. They didn't even have 100 at their own TWU rally, combined with carriage horse people and TWU Local 100 members outside Eric Botcher's office a few weeks ago. It was embarrassing. A whole lot of yelling, spent a lot of money to print Photoshop pictures of politicians in the New York Post. And what did they get done? Another loose horse that almost killed somebody. Many people. You saw the witness reports that are in the media and the news yesterday and today of people saying people were literally diving out of the way for their lives. You're telling me that it's not your responsibility, Christina Hansen, John Samuelson, Pete Donahue, Frank McCann. It's everybody else's fault. They say that some of the vehicles on the street are to blame. Some of those other vehicles fall under your jurisdiction, like those buses running the streets. She blamed a taxi cab that was still for getting a horse cast on it. How did the horse get there? This was a few years ago. The horse ended up cast, and if you understand what cast means, she says, yes, running through the streets, fell, and with her legs into the cab, but blames the cab for being in the way. These people are certifiable psychopaths. So, back to the real issue here that I wanted to address. I don't want to personally attack John Samuelson and what he earns and what he does, because his real job of representing the people who move the city of New York, and also the people who work for Amtrak, I guess they also represent, he does an amazing job. He really does. The Teamsters dumped the carriage horses 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They had no representation. Whatever the path was to the TWU Local 100 taking on the representation, I don't know. All I know is it happened. And I don't think that the officers, the president, chair people, vice presidents, anybody in that union understands what they took on. You have taken on a bunch of arrogant, irresponsible misfits who refuse to do anything else other than sit on a line or in a carriage, which at a county fair, that's a job for a teenager. Even small parks in rural towns, villages, it's kind of, they call it quaint. Yeah, and in the right setting, like here I am in this park in the center of Goshen. Once a year, they have a carriage horse, Christmas time, drives around this park. It's quiet for the most part, but you still have all those distractions. There's cars, there's trucks. It doesn't take much. Could have a nightmare here. Is it the right setting? Well, it's a better setting. And in the end, the horses here go back to a farm where they belong. And they're cared for, and they have the right veterinary care, the right farrier care, the right care by the individuals who care for them. They're fed correctly. They get to go outside. They get to put their heads down. They get to graze. They get to run, gallop, roam, whatever. We call it being a horse. Those horses, I was told don't use the word slave. Sorry, I'm not going to worry about triggering people. Those horses in New York City are treated like slaves. I don't want to hear the other bullshit that they were bred to do this. Maybe they were. We engineered them to do certain things. Those draft horses are engineered and bred to pull. Do they do it? Very well. You also have standardbreds that have no business being in that park. That's a whole other battle. That's what led me there to begin with. But again, in its simplest form, it's the worst possible position, the worst possible place to have any horse. Riding horses. Heard another horse got hit by a vehicle out on Long Island yesterday, being ridden, horseback riding. Why? Well, it's kind of neat, and I like seeing horses out there, and I like seeing horses in the park or on the street, but it's dangerous because it's the absolute opposite of the correct setting for any equine whatsoever. I wouldn't walk a horse through Manhattan, much less work them and expect them to always behave. They also went so far, and Christina Hansen, this mare's name was Bambi. She was a new horse to the park. Now listen to the words she uses. Being trained. She hasn't been there that long, was working and being trained. So you're telling me you took what we call a non-desensitized animal onto the streets of Manhattan, who probably never saw anything like this, came from a farm in Amish country, guaranteed, where they all come from, hasn't seen anything but grass and or maybe roads. She was a draft, so I don't think she was pulling a buggy. They throw her on the streets of Manhattan, and this clown, whoever he is, decides a mare who's only been in the city a few weeks and is in training. Wouldn't you be paying even more attention to her? Not walking away from her, not leaving her head, not leaving the lines, whatever, not leaving her unattended for even a millisecond. And there's no defense against that, because the fact of the matter is, we all saw the video of her galloping up the east side. I knew exactly where that was. On the grass, because there's no sidewalk there. So she went off the path, up over the curb, probably where she lost the first passenger. Through that one, you only see where she goes through that one sign. Tore that down like it was a friggin' toothpick. Then the man, feeling the hesitation in the carriage, where the carriage tore away. It was only being held by the long traces. It slowed down enough that you see could you imagine that someone, a member of the public, had to bail out of a carriage that had no driver yesterday in Central Park, and these people are making excuses? There's nothing else you have to say. It's unsafe for the people in the carriage, around the carriage, in front of the carriage, in the park, or wherever that horse is going to go, because, like I tell everyone, even though they're broke to do things, they don't know what Bethesda Fountain is. They don't know what anything is. We've taught them through repetition to do our bidding the way we want. We've broken them to the point where they've learned to stay in line, be enslaved. All horses have different types of personalities. Standardbreds, to me, are the best. They'll do anything you want, but underneath it all, their instincts are, if any one of them wants to, it can snap us like a twig. They want to take off, we're not going to hold them. That's what breaking is called. We've broken them. The natural spirit is still there, but it's hidden under what we want. But there's also a balance of using common sense and not putting a horse or people in a position where the person or the horse is endangered. And that right there is pretty much what it all comes down to. The people of the carriage horse industry in New York City couldn't care less about anything else but having a cushy job. Oh, that's what Christina Hansen said, that these horses have cushy jobs. No, Christina, you got that part wrong. You sit on your fucking ass doing nothing all day. That's what you do. Your biggest problem is finding a place to go use the bathroom. Something you could work out, but you don't. And the reason we know that is by the amount of loose horses in the park in Central Park. because people walk away from them. I see it all the time. And if anybody dares step up and say something, you people go ballistic and start cursing them out. You know why? Because you're fucking crazy. And that's what in the end, it just means it's got to end. City of New York, get it done before something bad, really bad